Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sad and I welcome you to this video. Now I along with a friend of mine have been working on a game called Case 42, The Redwood Files. It's a narrative horror game where you take on the role of rookie detective Anirban Ghosh, who has come to the quiet and cold hills of northeast India to solve a bizarre murder case, which soon unfolds into something really bizarre and supernatural. You will be walking around different town areas, talking to people, investigating crime scenes, and facing some weird entities, and getting into some places that are out of the realm of reality. It's inspired by old classics like Silent Hill, Shenmue, Haunting Grounds, and etc., and the iconic TV show Twin Peaks.
Wait a minute.
So, my good sirs and gentle ladies, you can and you should wishlist our game on Steam. Links in the description. Share it with your friends too, that would really mean a lot. Right now, we are sitting at around 100 wishlists, and that's honestly pretty cool. Now, let's talk about the real reason for this video, why this game is taking so damn long. Trust me when I say this, I've been meaning to make this video for a month now. Over time, I've realized few tough things about indie game development, and about that ever fascinating indie dev dream. So, whether or not you're a developer, I think you might take something away from this video. Now, this is a fairly ambitious project, and to be honest with you, this journey has been way more mentally exhausting than we ever expected. Now, I had some amateur game dev experience going in, so I thought I knew the kind of mountain we'd be climbing. But my god, I once again grossly underestimated just how unpredictably steep and sharp that mountain would be this time. It's been over a year already. We are still scrambling to build just the demo, and we are way past our deadline for that. And every time I look back at the time spent, I get that ugly feeling, that deep panic, like what are we even doing sort of feeling. Now this game isn't just a fun side project. We have put a lot of our time, mental energy and emotional investment into it. We have recently set up a Steam page. Our friends and families know that we are making this. And we are at a point in life where our peers are getting out in the real world, getting jobs, while I still blindly run in the dark, chasing this childhood dream of making games, indie games for a living. So in such a situation, after all this time, when we don't have a lot to show for, it hurts. It makes people start doubting. Hell, it makes us start doubting. Our parents may not fully understand video games, but they have shown faith in us to pursue this career, and I can't help but feel like I'm simply letting them down. And let me be clear, I'm not trying to sound like a victim here. I couldn't even if I wanted to, because looking back at everything, I feel like I was given all the resources I needed, all the support I needed. My elder brother and sister have always supported me in this pretty insecure path of being a game dev. I have access to friends like the programmer of this game, who has been working on it with me from the start and for free. I have friends who leave their own work to contribute in this project, be it creating high quality poster arts for this game, high quality musics for this game. And yet, I'm surprised to see how easily I can take all this for granted. Simply speaking, laziness has a big part to play in my failure to lead this game's development in a timely nature. Let me give you a work breakdown. My programmer friend handles all the programming works, gameplay systems, and all the logical stuff. And I take care of all the other things: 3D modeling, designing the gameplay mechanics, level design and creation, lighting, baking, placing and wiring all the interactables in one level or multiple levels, NPCs, animations, cutscenes, timely sequences, character art, props, textures, sound effects, ambience, writing the story and progression, actually placing everything so that the plot is properly conveyed, or at least somewhat properly conveyed, making social media posts for marketing this game, making and recording and editing videos like this one. And despite all that, I can't properly explain what I have even achieved in a given week. At all. I can't predict when something will finally be playable, and I genuinely don't know when I'll be able to look at a level and say, yep, that's finished and exactly how I was planning it to be. Right now, honestly, I feel like I'm just floating here and there, surviving on the patience of my friends and families, and it's just their kindness, I'm just always hoping, that they don't one day sit me down and ask me, so what's going on with your game, buddy? Because honestly, I wouldn't have an answer. I'd just be awkwardly smiling, I guess, while my mind goes completely blank with nothing but a depressing big blur. Now, one analogy I gave to a friend once that I feel perfectly sums up my feeling is the work in making a game is like fractals. You may list out all the tasks required, but the closer you get to completing them, the more tasks pop up. The more tasks, deeper tasks pop up, and it's like it keeps going. When you first write down a task, you don't realize even a simple task can go very deep, which then requires it to be broken into smaller tasks. A new outlook and philosophy. This past year has genuinely changed the way I look at creative work as a whole. And that's one thing I'll say that I've learned from this experience. I did learn a lot of design stuffs, technical stuffs, and a lot about teamwork, and how vastly different it is to lead yourself alone and to lead a two-person team. But most importantly, I would say I've learned to have a different philosophy when talking of development and committing to making a game or any creative long project. And not to sound over smart or pretentious here, but if you have ever tried to make a game or any slightly large-scale creative project, you probably know the feeling too. You begin to notice the sheer impossible amount of effort that goes into every piece of art around us, every game, film or story you come across, Even the ones that feel mediocre or not good likely gave someone sleepless nights, sanity loss, huge burnouts, and cost multiple years of their lives. And I just can't imagine any of these were made under calm, efficient conditions where the creators breezed through, without any stress or burnout. I doubt anyone ever said, yep, we built this game in a perfectly healthy way and had tons of energy left over. It's just not how this works, I feel like. Now, I know I'm going off track a bit, but it leads into something important. One of the biggest reasons for our slow development is simply how inconsistent our working periods have been. For much of this year, we have struggled to maintain momentum. Every few months, we maybe only get 1 month of proper work done. As we would have exams, we would go to meet our family, maybe we'd have a burnt out PC for months, or one of us just would be borderline burnt out. A part of this, we are students, and so we have to work on other stuffs too. We have to sometimes work on our own portfolios, and that is an entire beast of work in itself, and we have been struggling at balancing the two. Looking back, I do think if I were more disciplined, more confident in leading myself and my programmer teammate, we'd have made more progress. But I wasn't. I still am not. I struggle with laziness, with staying awake in the evenings. But here's the thing, for a narrative-driven linear game, especially one like ours, even some small sequences take a fairly big amount of manually placed logic and work. We can't rely on a few polished mechanics that carry the whole experience. There is no combat loop or parkour system. We can just replay across the levels. For games like ours, the progression is the game, and that means each level and sequence needs to be treated with equal focus. This hierarchy setup right here, these are not art pieces. These all are the crucial items, trigger events, cutscenes, important NPCs, etc, etc. And this is only for one of the important levels you'll find in the game. And all of this in total contributes to a fairly small portion of the demo length. Let me give you a more grounded example. Imagine the player investigates the house. Simple, right? But now I need to make sure the player can't progress until they speak to the correct NPC. Track whether they have received the key, make sure that I unlock a door only after a proper dialogue plays out. Populate the rooms with clues. Change NPC dialogue based on what the player has found. Place new triggers in the world. Keep the level changes persistent when the player returns to the level. Update the player's internal knowledge state, which then unlocks new conversations or events somewhere else. Set and manage journal entries that reflect the new objectives. Since it's a semi-fixed camera-based game, I need to manually set up all the cameras, their tracks, and their triggers in the levels. We need to make sure what happens if the player leaves a place midway and then returns later. Does everything still behave logically? Make sure lighting and environmental cues guide the player subtly so they know what's interactable or where to go, like placing carpets, guiding them. Add optional dialogues that are not essential to progress but add a bit of life to the story, to the world. Add new audio triggers, adjust background music or ambience depending on the scene or progression. Test all these under multiple saves, loads, conditions to make sure the logic doesn't break. All of this just for a short playable sequence and in one location. That's it. These are not flashy boss fights or cutscenes. These are invisible systems, in a sense. Like, these are conditions, triggers, dialogue states, items, flags, timeline events, cutscenes, all stacked and piled up, very much duct taped so they don't break. And after all this level, the player might just visit 3 or 4 times in total. But to make it feel moderately seamless and immersive, we have to make sure to deal with all of this. Because if one condition breaks, it might soft lock the player. And nothing's more horrible than that. And that's why building a game like this I feel like, is to some extent slow by its own nature. Not because it's technically cutting edge, but because we are trying to craft a proper sequence of experience that can give a cohesive narrative. It's also why you rarely see small indie teams make on projects like this one. Most stick to platformers, roguelikes, or mechanics first sort of games, and even horror games based on like one big location. And all of this is for good reason, because in those games you can build few super polished systems and then design the levels to support and showcase that. And obviously, they too take a huge amount of work and discipline to get somewhere close to being playable properly. But with this sort of games as ours, the levels are the systems, I guess, in a sense. It's a lot, but that's the kind of experience that we wanted to make. Or you know what, I guess I don't agree with the last statement. All genre games, if made with a slightly ambitious scope, will inevitably have their own several reasons that will break the developer's mind, I guess, and push them towards burnout. Every genre has their own struggles. It's just that I'm experiencing it with this genre of games. The natural descent of my work approach. Now let me come to another topic, another feeling I've been having for the last 5-6 months. That I think is quite possibly a natural behavior you take on if you two are working on a slightly big creative project and you're under stress and panic regarding the dev timeline. That is, you kind of give up on the idea of working with proper plans and deadlines and routines or schedules. You give up on that because at one point you are so consumed by the stress of it that now you only wish to work whenever your brain allows you to. And so taking that time off to instead sit down and properly plan out on paper or mind map as to what exactly is missing, how to make that better, setting up new milestones. All of this starts to look unnecessary in front of your current idea of just doing any amount of visual work is good and enough. At first I used to maintain a clear plan, writing things down, making detailed mind maps, setting up deadlines, milestones. I had calendars, roadmaps, checklists, but over time, as the pressure built up and our development pace slowed, I gradually stopped doing any of these. I no longer felt like I could afford to take the time to sit down and plan. I just wanted to do all the visible works that came in front of me, whatever I could manage when my brain allowed me to sit in front of the screen. Now, most design discussions happen in the passing, on the fly. Maybe just writing down on a paper. And talking of the edge cases, we just solve them as they show up. We rarely pre-plan them nowadays. My current mindset is, if we know roughly what needs to be done and we are moving forward, even if it's messy, still it's good enough. But the truth is, it's not. I'm not really driving the development anymore. Rather, I'm dragging it with me. I don't stop to reflect or document the new systems or logics we have added. And this shift in my mindset has not come from a lack of passion. I still love indie game development, but I've been stuck in this low energy, borderline burnout state where I just cannot sum up the mental clarity needed to be truly creative and efficient these days. And I think I understand why. It's the fear of stepping out of the comfort zone. Just hear me out. When you have to sit down and evaluate and analyze the work you have done and the work ahead, and you have to set up realistic deadlines, it makes you look at your failures. Failure of managing time, failure at missing milestones and deadlines, failing at leading a team, and it makes you even more stressed and panicked, and then you'll have to realize that, damn, there is a hell lot of more work left. Let me give you an analogy. It's like climbing a mountain, but instead of looking up, you choose to look down while walking forward. Why? Because looking up shows you how far you still have to go. A huge, hazy peak that's still nowhere in sight. And looking back, you see the long stretch of the mountain you have already climbed, where it's clearly too late to go back. You have invested too much of your emotion, energy and time, and put a lot of faith on yourself with this. But deep down you know you have drastically failed at climbing the mountain in the time and speed that you imagined. And now it's delayed far beyond your expectations. And now it's dark and night. You are alone. You are carrying with you a huge bag of emotions and responsibilities, and hopes of yourselves and others. And looking up and facing the huge distance remaining might just crash your head. And looking back might overwhelm you with all the failures and missed opportunities, small, big mistakes, laziness, stupidity, over promises, etc. etc. It's so scary. It's really scary. And so I choose to look down, I just choose to look down and walk ahead. And as you can tell, that's not good. Because the path ahead isn't a straight line. It's branching. And if you're not looking at the bigger picture, not navigating with intention, proper intention, you can easily take the wrong turn. Still, looking up feels dangerous. Looking at the work ahead can paralyze you, because facing the full scope of your project forces you to face your own shortcomings. And you know what, maybe I'm just overthinking. Maybe at this point I'm just whining. But I do think this is something worth acknowledging. That this feeling can happen to anyone pursuing a big creative dream project. So if you ever feel like this too, know that you're not alone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as of now, we are very close to finishing the demo. I know I've been saying that for a long time now if you're following this channel. And I can't wait for you guys to play the demo when it comes out. So yeah, stay tuned with this channel. Next video will soon be out, and that won't be as sad as this one. There we shall discuss all the cool new stuffs we have been working on recently. Also, don't forget to wishlist our game on Steam, links in the description, and also share it with your friends too. And join our Discord page. There you can talk to us, give us feedbacks, and also you can share your works of art or anything, your game, or just have general talks, I really think I have more to talk about these topics I spoke of today. Maybe if you found something meaningful in this video, then I'll make more such videos. I don't know, let me know. So with that, beautiful ladies and handsome sirs, I'll take your leave. See you soon. Bye.